welcome to those joining us on YouTube this morning. Ellen DeGeneres joked that in the beginning there was nothing, and God said, "Let there be light." There was still nothing, but you could see it better. If you picked up our theme for today around the readings, the theme is light. Light. So what images or other words do you associate with the word light? Candle? Sunshine? Lamp? Some of these are simply a vessel for light, like a lamp, for instance. The lamp itself does not create the light. The light bulb is the light-producing item. And the lamp itself must be connected to a power source. And even if it is plugged in and has a light bulb in it, the lamp will not produce light until we flip the switch and allow the power to flow. Then we can have light. This is representative of our relationship with higher power. We are the lamp. Our soul is the light bulb. God is our source of power, and our willingness is the switch that allows that power to flow within us in order to access the light within us and allows us to share it with those around us. So here is an interesting story about light in the form of lanterns. So yes, from way back in the day. W.C. Coleman, founder of the Coleman Lantern Company, recalled how he became an instant success in the business world. About the year 1900, a man offered Coleman a gasoline lantern franchise. He sold everything he had and borrowed the rest and set out to sell. But he was terribly disappointed to learn that almost every storekeeper in his territory already had a lantern, but no one used them because they wouldn't stay lit. In a hotel room across the street from the store that just slammed the door in his face, Coleman sat in darkness, staring out across the street, looking into the store lit dimly by kerosene lanterns. He lit his gasoline lantern and the room burst into light. Then inspiration struck. Stop selling lamps. Sell light. Sell light. He ran across the street to where the storekeeper again refused to purchase any lanterns. And Coleman said, "No, I'm not selling lamps, I'm selling light. You pay me to light your store. If the lamps fail, that's my problem. You just pay for the light." He hung 3 lanterns in this man's store, lit them, and returned to his room across the street. If the light went out, he ran to replace it, repaired it, refueled it, and returned it. That night, Coleman made a $1 million decision to not sell lamps, but to sell light. And clearly, Coleman did go on to sell lamps eventually. But this act is what started their family's legacy that is thriving still today. I'm sure you recognize the name Coleman. And it started by filling the need and the desire for light. Actually, a Coleman lantern helped me to see my way in the dark about 15 years ago. I was on a silent retreat at Christ in the Desert Monastery in Abiquiu, New Mexico, with a group from my seminary. And just to paint the picture for you, this monastery is 25 miles back a dirt road. There's no electricity. There's no anything. This part of the country is desert, and there are these amazing, gorgeous rock formations of vibrant, layered colors everywhere you look. Absolutely gorgeous. We each had our own room, and we were given this little battery-operated Coleman little lantern. We just switched it on. And I was very grateful for that little lantern, especially when I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. It lit my way. Because if you can imagine being out in the middle of the desert with no light pollution, no sound, no cars, no nothing. Two things I experienced there that I've never in my life experienced: such silence and such darkness. Silence is deafening, is a real thing. If you've ever been in a situation that's that quiet, it actually hurts your ears. But when I was in my room and I turned off the lantern to go to sleep, the darkness was almost overwhelming. But it was very comforting to know that I had that little Coleman lantern that I could turn on at any time. And then I couldn't see far, but I could see enough. It was comforting to me. Our need for light today seems more urgent than in Coleman's day. Yes, we have electricity and artificial light galore to the point of light pollution, but I'm talking about inner light. Light that comes from a power greater than ourselves. Because when we look at light in this way, we can think of it as someone having a light in their eyes, or lighting up when they talk about something that they're passionate about. It's an inside job, as they say. Light is an attitude. It's a perspective or a lens that we use to view life. The light of which I speak is not self-generated. It is light from our higher power. As one of our readings reminded us, God is light, and in God there is no darkness at all. God is our power source. God is energy. God is pure light. And our higher power is part of us, and we are part of our higher power. Because we contain a divine spark. God is woven in between each breath that we take. And that God light is within us, in our souls. It burns in the very essence of who we are and who we were created to be in this life. This God light that is part of us, it never goes out because our higher power is eternal. At times in our lives, the darkness looms and threatens, and the light seems hard to find. But it is there. It is always there. It is smoldering, awaiting the oxygen it needs to fully illuminate our lives once more. Drugs, alcohol, compulsive behaviors bring darkness. Being in self-will brings darkness. Hatred and violence bring darkness. Selfishness brings darkness. But the good news is that the darkness can never overcome the light. Another one of our readings this morning refers to living in the light. And that means being connected to our higher power, our eternal light source, so that we can become illuminated. This is about time spent in prayer and meditation, cultivating a relationship with our higher power, not just in times of trouble, but every day, no matter what. And just like any other relationship, it is an ongoing investment of time and energy. When we rely on the light to guide us through the darkness of our addiction, through the darkness of our shadow self, through the darkness of this world, the path is visible before us. Light guides our way. And just like at Christ in the desert, when I had my little lantern, sometimes we're only going to be able to see just the next step in front of us. But that's okay. That's all we need for now. Our higher power gives us what we can handle in the moment. And we think we know what's best, but most times we don't. We often pray the serenity prayer. When we are living in the light, we can indeed have serenity. We can have peace. But peace is not passive. It is fierce, healing, and deeply personal. Peace reaches into the darkest corners of our lives and brings light. Our higher power does not lead us into hatred or division or harm, but calls us into love, mercy, and compassion in every part of our lives. Living in the light brings peace, and peace brings more light, and that brings more peace. It is a positive cycle of God at work when we allow our higher power into our hearts and minds. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a planner. I like to plan things out way in advance. And we can have a plan for our lives, but without light to show the way, it doesn't matter what our plan is. It doesn't matter what we're using to navigate because we can't see. Today, we have GPS readily available. But even if we have the most advanced technology on a country road after dark when we're driving, we need light to be able to get to where the GPS is taking us. On a country road, there are no streetlights. That's where I'm from. My dear friend, Renee, her and I met at college orientation. We didn't know anybody else, so we said, hey, we're hitting it off, let's room together. And we ended up rooming together for all 4 years of undergrad. And my mom joked that we were city mouse and country mouse living in the same dorm room. And for those of you who don't know, that is a Sesame Street reference, so I may be dating myself. Because Renee was from urban Long Island, and I am from rural Northeast Pennsylvania. So our relationship got to the point where we wanted to go visit each other's families and homes and see where we're from. And so I went to visit her on Long Island, and she came to visit me with some friends to Northeast Pennsylvania. And we went driving, went to go get ice cream or something after dark, and they were driving. And they were horrified. They would not turn their high beams off, even if other cars were coming, because they felt so afraid because the headlights only reached so far, and they were used to all the overhead lights of the city. And I was just like, what are you doing? That's rude, please turn your high beams off. They were so afraid. But that's what they're used to. We need the light to see where we're going. But headlights only go so far in the country. Because light exposes danger. It illumines the way and it makes things clearer. In fact, light provides contrast in extraordinary ways, helping us to see what we've been missing. When I was at Christ in the Desert Monastery, the contrast of dark and light was made very apparent, especially when I looked up at the night sky. I had no idea there were so many stars in the night sky. Because of the contrast of the immense darkness, I was really able to appreciate the light from the stars shining overhead. Centuries ago, the art world made a giant leap forward when some of the artists of the era began to experiment with shading and using light in their work. They found that the contrast affected the whole composition, the interplay of light and shadows creating an emotional response from people who were viewing their work. And more than anything, this proximity of light and dark in work created perspective. Moving from flat to three-dimensional created a more accurate depiction. And there it is. Light gives perspective. Light creates an accurate depiction. The light of our higher power does those things. It gives us perspective to the darkness of our addiction, the darkness of some of our own thoughts, the darkness of this world. And sometimes we think, I'm too broken to think about light. It's all darkness. I understand that. And hear me out, as this can apply to our recovery journey and other things in our lives. I want us to think about a jack-o'-lantern. It's an everyday vegetable that gets cut up. It gets all its guts scooped out. And if a pumpkin can feel, it must feel incredibly vulnerable and horrible at this point in the process. But then a candle is placed within, and the light warms and illumines the pumpkin's new identity. And all who walk by notice its light shining from the inside out. I will leave you with this quote from Leonard Cohen. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Our higher power works best through our weaknesses, through our cracks, if we flip on the switch of willingness. So I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment of visualization with me, if you will. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath. Now imagine yourself in a dark room with no windows or light of any kind. If you've ever been in a place like that, draw on that memory. And knowing that you are safe, just sit in the dark for a few moments and pay attention to how you are feeling in your body in this darkness. Now imagine you are holding a lit candle in this dark place. It gives off a pleasant scent. You can feel its warmth. Focus on the dancing flame in front of you. How do you feel in your body now? Notice that when we focus on the light, the darkness is pushed back to make way for us to continue. In this light, we are given a guide. We are given assurance and a sense of comfort, knowing that the darkness will never overtake us, for the light will always punch holes in the darkness. Now let's take another deep breath, and you can gently flutter your eyes open and come back to this space. Amen.
Amen.